Hey guys, are you looking for a sportsbook that you can trust? Well, look no further than mybookie.ag, where you can get a 50% match on your initial deposit of up to $1,000 when you use promo code DFSArmy. As a bonus, when you use promo code DFSArmy, you also get a free month of DFS Army VIP and DFS Army Beat the Bookie membership. That's a $100 combined value. So we'll help you with your daily fantasy sports and we'll help you with your handicapping. Free when you sign up for mybookie.ag using promo code DFSArmy.
In 2015, an elite DFS Army Commando unit formed to bring high-level DFS strategy to the masses. Today, hated by DFS sharks and lineup sellers alike, they continue their quest to turn Joe into DFS pros.
Hello and welcome to the Taco Tuesday PGA DFS podcast presented to you by DFSArmy.com. And boy, did we just have the biggest happening in all of golf happen last week as Tiger Woods won the Masters. So many people thought that not only was he going to never win another major again, a lot of people thought he wasn't going to win on tour again. Proved them wrong at the Tour Championship last year, but this was something else. This was that breakthrough moment that we have all been waiting for with Tiger Woods. And it was a joy to witness live. Just a tremendous tournament, really. The whole top of the leaderboard was just packed with major winners and just raw talent. You had Koepka, you had DJ, you had Molinari right there in the mix. You couldn't have really asked for much of a better Masters tournament than that. That has to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest Masters of all time. It was a joy to watch. And the shot tracker was just amazing. Even though they didn't give us any shot link data, which sucks. But being able to zoom in on the 3D shots and following exactly who you want. I just wish every tournament was like that. But yeah, we get to enjoy a lot of these things at the Masters and at majors that we don't usually get to in weeks like these. And this is definitely one of the weaker weeks, as usually it's a weaker week, but this week it's actually not a bad field for the RBC Heritage. And before I break down the RBC Heritage for you guys, I gotta let you know, as always, DFSArmy.com. One-stop shop for all things daily fantasy. Your membership gets you access to all of our daily fantasy sports that we cover with one cheap price. You get all of the research station and domination station for each sport. Research station being very powerful in-depth tools and analysis. It's what I'll be referencing throughout the podcast. And of course, the domination station lineup optimizer helps you make now up to 300 lineups in any given slate, and got a lot of awesome tools coming up. You've integrated projected ownership into the domination station a lot more, so you can tweak your exposures at the end to get them right around however you want to play the projections for ownership. So really cool stuff. Got a lot of cool stuff coming in the future for DFS Army. Always growing, always finding new ways to crush it. And we had a guy, really crush it last week in the Millionaire Maker, finishing top 20. Shout out to Jeffrey P. Kaufman there. DFS Army member. We've seen him around a lot. Really nice to see him, bring home some meaningful cash. That is no easy feat there, coming to the top 20 of such a humongous contest. So big shout out to you, Jeffrey. And for anyone else that wants to get involved, join the coaching channels, get access to all of our premium articles and tools. DFSArmy.com. Use that link in the description and use promo code TACO on sign up for a lifetime 20% off. Alrighty, so heading into Hilton Head, South Carolina. We are at the RBC Heritage. The Royal Bank of Canada does a couple of events each year. You've got some guys like Dustin Johnson that kind of just show up because RBC is one of their major sponsors. But this one's in South Carolina on some Bermuda greens at Harbortown Golf Links. It is one of the shorter courses on tour. It's a par 71. I do believe it is the shortest par 71 at just 7,099 yards. But it does play slightly over par. Sometimes, plays a whole stroke over par, depending on the weather. We're at a coastal course. The wind is going to come into play. It looks like Friday is going to have some really nasty weather, as we're looking right now. So you're going to want to keep that in mind. It could bring some lower scores, and also some tee time draws maybe for showdown. So just have that in mind. But the key thing about this course here is that these are the smallest greens on the PGA Tour. Kind of similar to Pebble Beach with how just tiny they are. And, Pebble Beach is another very, very short course. I think it's under 7,000 yards, well under 7,000 yards, all of the courses at that event. But the super small greens, make up for that in difficulty. Plus, positioning your approach shot is absolutely key. You're going to be looking a little bit more at driving accuracy than driving distance this week. This is definitely what you would consider a club down course. The average driving distance here is 271 yards. Oftentimes people are, clubbing down and just going with the 3-wood or even hitting irons off the tee. There are not many courses at all. I mean, Pebble Beach is another one where the driving distance is even shorter. And a lot of that just has to do with how the course was designed. Most of the time, a driver will not grant you any sort of real advantage here, just being really long off the tee, like we see at most courses. This is a little bit similar to like the John Deere or some of those other tournaments. Pebble Beach, like I said, that really lend itself to the shorter accuracy guys. We see some really random and kind of bad players win just out of nowhere. We see long shots win here all the time. So a lot of variance here. I expect a much higher level of variance than usual. But for the first time in a little while here, I know a lot of courses are like this, but this is the first you've been to in a little while where strokes gained approach, when looking at correlations between season-long averages and fantasy point scoring over the last few years, we can see that at RBC Heritage, strokes gained off the tee does not matter. It's one of the lowest on the PGA Tour as far as correlation to strokes gained off the tee to fantasy point scoring. But we do see strokes gained approach rating out in the top 20 of courses, and strokes gained putting ranking 9th out of 41 courses. We do see putting actually being a huge factor here. They're much slower greens, and that usually lends itself to better putters being able to flex their good putting on these slow Bermuda grass greens. And a strokes gained around the green also is going to be a little bit more important than we're used to with just how small the greens are and how low everyone's greens regulation percentage is. We really want to look to strokes gained approach over greens regulation this week as a stat. You're not just going to want to just hit the green. You're going to want to hit specific parts of the greens. They can be quite tricky. Just the small size and the undulation of them, with how the greenside traps are also set up. And we also see driving accuracy rating out top 10 of all the courses on the PGA Tour here. This very obviously is what you would call an accuracy course. So you're going to play your old men. You've seen Furyk win here multiple times. Your guys that are shorter off the tee, like Brian Gay has won here. It's very easy to find yourself just, playing the, another example, the Matt Kuchars of the world who have won here. It's you can just tell by the players that repeatedly do here what is generally needed, and the name of the game is really just a ball striking and short game. Driving accuracy, maybe like good drive percentage, also something decent to look at there, but driving distance won't really help you much here. And even still, with Dustin Johnson in the field, it's a good test for the rest of his game, which is very underrated. His approach game better than pretty much everyone in this field, a pretty decent margin. It'd be fun to see how he hits it around here. 16th last year in his debut here at this course. So yeah, looking at the strength of the field here, I mean, you got DJ, you got Molinari, so a few of the guys, Xander Schauffele also, so you've got some guys that all finished top 5 and were in contention to win last week. And you've got Bryson DeChambeau and Matt Kuchar, who also had really good Masters runs there, and Patrick Cantlay as well. Even Jordan Spieth did pretty solid at the Masters, so you got a bunch of guys who were up on the leaderboard, at least for a good portion of the tournament last week. That are just going to try to parlay it into this week, just playing the next week. But we've got the PGA Championship ahead of us as well. Don't think we have any golf next week with the Zurich, because DraftKings does not like to do contests where multiple people are on a team, just with the different scoring and all. And so this week, one of the few weeks of prep we get before the PGA Championship and the big changes in the schedule. This is not a bad event like we have seen in years past. The field is at least, it's pretty decently strong, even when you go down. Just a lot of the, not a ton of your guys who are like top 50 in the world or anything, but you've got a lot of players who played last week in the Masters, just, continuing to play while we're in the southeast part of the country here in South Carolina. It's not too far of a drive from Georgia. Nice little place to keep it going while you're heading on out through the major season. And God, I still just keep coming back to Tiger Woods' victory. It's just absolutely mind blowing. I've witnessed so many, grown men just getting emotional with just all the nostalgia, seeing him dressed in red on a Sunday and closing. That's just something that is. We've been missing out on that for so long, and he's teased it for so long with his really good play. It's just amazing to see him do that. I've had so many people, different people in my life, like grandparents, my girl's grandparents, just calling me and, just talking about golf and, Tiger and everything. It's really nice to just have something that gets people talking together like that. Really bring together a lot of the people, maybe in my age group or older, that all just remember Tiger. Just the absolute dominance that he had. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what his DraftKings salary would be. That would just be insane. Maybe 13, 14, 15,000 each week. I mean, I remember they used to have, in the sports books, they had Tigers versus the field, and they pretty much gave him like a plus 200 and gave the field like a minus 200 or something. Just insane to think about now. The 142 made cuts in a row. It was all his years of finishing top 10 in strokes gained approach on tour. Dude's a legend, and he was already pretty much the greatest golfer of all time without this. And with this, I mean, this would be like if, I don't know. It's hard to really describe, but this would be like if Michael Jordan came back and won that championship with like the Wizards. It was unthinkable, but he did it, and I don't really think he's going anywhere either. He's going to be very expensive, very popular on DraftKings for the foreseeable future, unless he runs into a skid or something. Just a huge shout out Tiger. What a week last week. But we got to move on to this week at the RBC Heritage. It's not the Masters, but it will do for this week. A lot better than next week, I'll tell you that. So, kind of talked about all of the studs up top. Let's elaborate them a little bit before we have to switch over to the VIP only deep dive part of the podcast. But I will talk about all the more expensive guys in a bit more detail here. Starting off with Dustin Johnson. obviously he's going to rank out first in everything across the board pretty much. Around the green is just average, but still gaining some strokes. Other than that, his approach game is insane. Off the tee game, I mean, that's been the name of the game with DJ, but it's actually tailed off a little bit. It's been really funneling in on that approach, but he gains 1.1 strokes approach on average over his last 50 rounds. Just crazy amounts of consistency with that. And, when it comes to putting, he's actually been putting a lot better over like the last 10 rounds or so, gaining almost a stroke per round putting. He's got, like I said, he's got more of an overall game than I think people realize. He's definitely not just a lackadaisical dude with a great putter anymore. He's pretty dialed in, pretty safe. I expect him to be very popular. FanDuel kind of did a little better than DraftKings in making sure he was priced up way higher than everyone. I don't know why he's only $300 more than Molinari. That it just feels like no one's really going to play Molinari this week at that price, and everyone's just going to kind of go DJ if they can afford to. A lot of the other 10K plus guys don't really seem that appealing for spending all this money on, but Dustin Johnson, if you look at the Vegas implied, or the adjusted implied odds, which account for rake and show you the true expected percentage that each person's going to either win top 10 or top 20. Dustin Johnson has a 7.7% win prop, 40% top 10 prop, and 57% top 20 prop. So they really expect the top 20 out of him. It really makes sense with him coming in off of 5 straight top 10s as it is. He finishes in the top 10% of fields 70% of the time, which is like 20% more than anyone in this field can boast. Just obviously the class of the field. I would not worry about this being an accuracy course with him, because I don't really think that matters. I think he's really, really, really good when he clubs down. Get some more accuracy in there. He can really, pick his spots for his approach shots, and just so good at gaining birdies, fantasy points, you name it. Ranks out number one, obviously, and not just everything, but projected round score, projected DraftKings, FanDuel scoring, doesn't really matter. He is definitely the class of the field. 6-1. Next closest to him is Molinari at 13-1. A pretty obvious chalky sort of play. I imagine he breaks 20% on both sites, maybe reaching 30% on FanDuel when it comes to ownership. So it's always very hard to go overweight on DJ unless you just do something crazy and play like 50% or more. But a lot of people are going to flock to him. And I could see him doing that in cash as well. And it'd be for a darn good reason, because you're just getting the class of the field. And 7-1 odds at under $12,000, 11-6 on DraftKings. That is not a bad deal at all, especially with how weak the rest of the field is. Just in comparison to what we pay for these 12K guys on other weeks. Francesco Molinari, not much to be said about him. I know that he doesn't put up as many like DraftKings scoring points as other people that finish near him. I think he got outscored by, I think it was Koepka, who finished like 9th. And I want to say Cantlay also, who finished 9th, outscored him in fantasy scoring. But yeah, Molinari, he can definitely win out of nowhere. I mean, he was the leader at the Masters for so long, has all these wins on tour, really, really, really strong fields, and obviously the Open Championship from last year. Pretty much a threat to win wherever. Just recently won the Arnold Palmer Classic, but Arnold Palmer Invitational. But it's just his price at $11,300. Probably gonna keep people off of him. I know he's pretty much the clear second favorite to DJ, followed only by DeChambeau and Schauffele at about 17-1 there. He's 13-1. $11,300. If you can get there, I think you can definitely get there a lot easier on FanDuel, where he's significantly cheaper in comparison to guys like DJ, and priced right next to DeChambeau and Schauffele, instead of being way more expensive than him, like Like, he's $900 more expensive than DeChambeau on DraftKings, but only $100 more expensive on FanDuel. And I think he scores better on FanDuel as well. So yeah, he does actually. The way he scores, just lends itself more to FanDuel scoring than DraftKings. So I'd play my Molinari over on FanDuel if you get the option to cross-site hedge over there. Xander Schauffele, this dude just keeps coming up. He'll miss a cut on you. He sure will. He does that. And like he did at the Players, he does it at just the right times to get people off of him before he just goes off in a strong field. So good at strong fields. We've seen him win things like the Tour Championship and the Tournament of Champions most recently. We also saw him pretty much follow that, or that was a follow up from his WGC win in China. Almost won the Open Championship and the Players last year. The dude just has seriously high upside. And he scores a little better, for DraftKings. A lot better than Molinari does. Really solid all-around sort of player right now. Getting it done, tee to green. He is struggling with his strokes gained around the green as of recently. But, at this price, I think his ownership is going to be low enough where I don't mind it. If I'm not really going to play a ton of DJ or something, I think people will be drawn to DeChambeau for $500 cheaper and own him a lot more than Schauffele. And just with how he is and how he can string together some really good finishes, I really do like Schauffele. I wish he was less expensive, but it is what it is. Probably going to get him on FanDuel as well, where he is cheaper than Bryson DeChambeau. But not a bad play to have. I wouldn't play him in cash, but definitely someone I'll sprinkle in GPP. I know the price sucks, but the talent speaks for itself. He just has enough upside to where you're going to want a piece of the Xander pie. Bryson DeChambeau at $10,400, 11.7 on FanDuel. So he's trending a little bit more expensive on FanDuel. And will probably be played a bit more on DraftKings. This is a place where he missed the cut back in 2017. So he sucks. He's bad at this course. I'm just kidding, because in 2018 he finished 3rd. 2016, 4th. Not a bad sort of debut for your boy Bryson here. After missing the cut in 2017, bringing it right back last year. We haven't seen him win in a little while. He had those back-to-back wins in the playoffs that were extremely... just extremely impressive. He did win over the swing season at the Shriners, which is pretty much his 3rd win in like 5 starts, and like his 4th win in 10 starts or something like that. He still has that upside, obviously, but finishing 15th at the Genesis and 10th at the Sony Open, that's the best thing that he's done so far this season. 20th at the Players, really, really awful showing at WGC. Finishing 29th at the Masters, it sounds pretty good, but if you remember where he was up on the leaderboard up until Sunday, he kind of choked a lot of that away. He could have had a much, much better finish. Definitely was in top 10, top 15 range there. Just couldn't hang on too long. But another guy you're just going to want to play for some upside, but I think he gets more popular than Xander. I guess I could be wrong here. I just really do see people, at least on DraftKings, certainly on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I think Xander might be more popular, but on DraftKings, 10,400 for Bryson, and seeing guys like Molinari and Schauffele above him, I think that will coax some people into using DeChambeau, especially seeing his history here, how he's finished the best of any of the 9K guys and above at this course last year, outside of Siwoo Kim. So, yeah, Bryson DeChambeau going to get some love, I'm sure. Rates out 3rd in both the course and DraftKings scoring. Gains the most birdies to the field in recent form than anyone, even over Dustin Johnson there. Of course, go long term. Dustin Johnson just smokes the field, but that is something that Bryson does a lot. I like him for showdown plays. Weekend stuff like that, because he does have really high upside when it comes to his rounds. You can actually go on the Showdown Tools section of the research station, and you can see that, well, you can look how often guys are in the top 10 or top 5% of the entire field in a given round when it comes to Showdown fantasy scoring. Of course, DJ is in the top 10% 41% of the time, just absolutely nutty. In the top 5, 31% of the time. Just sort of a lock and load in Showdown plays, honestly, if you really know what's good for you, unless you know he's going to be 50+% owned. But, Bryson DeChambeau probably comes in about second in that list, coming top 10 at 26% of the time, and top 5, 20% of the time. They aren't DJ numbers, and it's obvious why DJ is getting all the love he deserves here, but Bryson can get it done. If not in 4-day, then he's definitely a pick I have for the showdowns, especially in round 2, where he seems to do a lot of what Tommy Fleetwood does, and just saving it all for round 2 to make the cut. You've got, going down a little bit further here, you've got Matt Kuchar, who's just been destroying it, not only at this course, but in real life. The only bad finish he had was at WGC Mexico, after stiffing a now beloved Mexican. It was not great for him, and he was actually doing really, really well until Saturday, and he just fell apart. I think he had like 8 over or something. But past that, this whole season has been butterflies and rainbows for your boy Kuchar, winning at the Mayakoba Classic, and then winning the inaugural event of the season at the Sony Open, 4th at the Waste Management, and most recently 7th in Texas, and then the week after that just walking into Augusta, throwing down a 12th. He does that every single year at Augusta. He's never missed a cut, that's pretty much a given. But here at this course also, he's very good. Also doesn't miss cuts here. Winner in 2014. And from there, he's gotten worse every year, but it's still really good. Finishing 5th, then 9th, and 11th, then 23rd last year. Playing the best golf of his entire life right now. So I think he can reverse that trend of him going downwards there and put himself in top 10, where Kuchar is just a staple, honestly, in the top 10 of leaderboards. That's just a thing he does. In cash games, this is probably the move here. I could understand Cantlay for cheaper with slightly better odds and the great history here, but Kuchar safe from pretty much however you look at it. His glaring weakness is driving distance, which is negated here. Even then, recently his driving distance adjusted is 292 yards. Not shabby at all. We've also got his his approach numbers looking really, really nice. Almost as good as DJ's, like right there. I'm gaining well over a stroke per round recently, and really over the last 25 rounds for him, gaining over a stroke per round. It's over the last 10 rounds, actually, it's been his putter that has screwed him over. He's been losing over a stroke per round putting over the last 10, but something that I see Kuchar getting over. He's very good at putting, just in general. That's something he's always been able to do pretty well, and at a course that he's very, very comfortable at. Wouldn't be surprised to see him just remember how to putt again. Jordan Spieth. No, I'll wait just a second before condemning Jordan Spieth. And that's probably where I'll stop it for the free pod, but Patrick Cantlay at $9,700. 2 finishes here over the last 2 years, 3rd and 7th. 9th at the Masters last week. Just had one heck of a Saturday. I think he went 8 under or something. Just really awesome. Nice way to bounce back from the Players. I kind of mentioned that, these guys who had been doing really well, like Cantlay, and then just hit a brick wall at the Players. You can think Cabrera Bello as well. I really like to forgive these guys, and you're starting to see why. Cantlay going into the Masters where he missed the cut last year, was just ice cold in the weekend. Ended up moving himself up to T9 on the leaderboard after being someone that you thought might be in trouble of missing the cut. Cantlay is ultra consistent, just with his game. Getting it done off the tee, or really tee to green. And even recently over the last 10 rounds, he's actually been putting okay. He's a very bad Bermuda putter, though. This is probably his worst split. So I'm, a little bit concerned about that. But still, Cantlay, probably cash game sort of safe here. I'd consider him cash game safe. 18 to 1 odds compared to Kuchar's 20 to 1 for $300 more there. Good price on both sides. Like using some Cantlay, cash GPP. Probably just going to be a guy get in there early and often. So the final guy I will harp on before going to the VIP only deep dive pod is of course Jordan Spieth. What in the world has happened to Jordan Spieth? 21st at the Masters might as well be a miscut at the Masters for a Jordan Spieth, but it's been so consistent what has happened every week. Thursday you see him up on the leaderboard every time, and then by Sunday you're like, what happened to him? T60. And I really like what David Duval was saying when I was listening. I was in the hospital recently. Part of the reason I didn't do a podcast for the Masters, actually, in case you didn't know, is having my second child, my son. He's happy and healthy. Everything's good. But I got to spend a lot of time listening to the Golf Channel, just hearing the different pros' takes on what's wrong with Jordan Spieth. And I like what David Duval said. He says he's looked at him and he thinks he's just focusing too much on fixing himself and not letting himself play natural. He's playing golf swing, but he's not playing golf. And I can sort of relate to that too. I found, a couple of years ago, I tried to do a really, sort of analytic based, change in my golf swing. I guess inspired by the Shambo a little bit. I wasn't, messing up all my clubs to be the same length or anything, but I had tried, massively overhauling my swing. And again, it just gives me so much more respect for Tiger being able to do this, because I felt like it did a lot more worse than good. You can look at someone like a Matt Kuchar right now, or even Jim Furyk at this tournament. Those guys have completely homemade swings. Nothing professional about them. Of course, you have your non-examples of this too as well. Guys with picture-perfect swings like Adam Scott. But even Matsuyama, you can see him play at a very, very high level. Even with a very suboptimal pause at the top of his swing. So for Jordan, I'm not going to sit here and give him advice, but maybe we could. I think what's going to propel him to getting back in the game is just getting more comfortable. It's sort of like when you change your key bindings in a video game. You're going to suck for a little while, but if you can get it figured out, you might be doing a lot better than before. For the older fellows here, I'll think of a better analogy here. It's like switching over to driving stick. You take a little bit to learn that. Of course, it's taken Jordan forever here, but once you learn that, it's kind of a simplistic example there. Everyone kind of knows how to drive a stick, but still, it's just something I think he's got to just work through, power through. Yips don't last forever with pretty much anyone that we see. Tiger, Casey, Stenson, all these guys have won recently, and even won majors after getting over some serious yips. So not all hope is lost for Jordan Spieth. He did manage to have his best finish of the season. Of course, it was at the Masters where he can't not do well, but we'd really like to see a top 20 finish out of him sometime soon. It's his driving accuracy now is, first off, what's going to keep me off of him at this course, because he has just like the worst accuracy on tour right now. I don't know what's wrong with his driver. He's just a hair over 300, but he is wildly inaccurate. Recently, having a driving accuracy percentage of 52%, a double bogey or worse percentage over 3%. Just not been feeling it lately. Something is amiss. Until then, he's gonna stay priced up like this, 9,500. You can just kind of safely avoid him and go for other guys. You got Cantlay right there, much better play. Kuchar, much better play. And then I'll talk about the rest of the fields. We go on further down for our VIP members. And remember, if you want to come join us, you definitely should. Link in the description. promo code TACO to get your lifetime 20% off, and it helps support the pod. You get access to, our domination station, lineup optimizer, create up to 300 lineups very quickly, and adjust them however you see fit. And of course, our research station, which has the stat cruncher player model, the fantasy scoring projections, the stroke scanned analysis round by round, the field rank tools, which are really helpful for determining form, even with all these different size fields, the player comp tool, showdown tools, lots and lots of cool stuff you can get into. And that's just PGA, I've even started on like baseball that's just about to get into full swing, and, things like the simulator for NBA and, the research station and domination station there. Got a lot of stuff going on. It's not even football season yet. DFS is fun all year long, especially when you're in a place that covers all the different sports. You don't have to pay separately for each sport. So DFSArmy.com. Check it out today. Promo code TACO. And I'll see you VIP members back in a second. For the rest, I will see you guys, I guess, in 2 weeks. See ya.
Hey guys, are you looking for a sportsbook that you can trust? Well, look no further than mybookie.ag, where you can get a 50% match on your initial deposit of up to $1,000 when you use promo code DFSArmy. As a bonus, when you use promo code DFSArmy, you also get a free month of DFS Army VIP and DFS Army Beat the Bookie membership. That's a $100 combined value. So we'll help you with your daily fantasy sports, and we'll help you with your handicapping. Free when you sign up for mybookie.ag using promo code DFSArmy.